For sale signs have come down, and Ashburn and Prince George's County, as one of the world's most valuable sports franchises, looks to go under contract. Unable to escape the spotlight shone upon nearly a dozen separate scandals, the hostile and defamed Dan Snyder, with no allies among NFL owners, had been left with few options to avoid media scrutiny and the consequences that are sure to follow the civil and criminal investigations into himself and his embattled franchise. After announcing a sale partnership with Bank of America in November, there had been a new report every week escalating the drama, offering a secret window into the process of selling a $6 billion enterprise. In this video, we'll recap everything that's happened so far, including the recently declared winning bidders for the Commanders, why Jeff Bezos opted out, and discover whether Dan Snyder truly intended to sell the team. This is everything we know so far about the sale of the Washinton Commanders. Dan Snyder, facing a tornado he created, announced in November 2022 that he was exploring a minority stake or all-out sale of his recently renamed Commanders. After years of scandals from the team's name, having a park ranger fired to prevent cutting trees down on his property, financial misreporting, harassment and poor workplace culture allegations, suing season ticket holders, and a secret $55 million loan, just to name a few, it appears that the end to all of this drama will be Dan Snyder seeing himself out of NFL ownership, and perhaps out of the US. At the beginning of the 2022 NFL season, Snyder's reputation and media spotlight had only continued to rapidly go in opposite directions. A report broke that Snyder had hired private investigators seeking to find dirt on other NFL owners. Citing a lack of leaks or defamatory news articles since, Snyder's investigations or claims of knowing dozens of career-ending secrets quickly seemed to be unfounded. But NFL owners were warned, with assistants linked to Snyder seen filming and photographing Indianapolis Colts owner Jim Irsay at the league meeting in March. Later in October 2022, after the Snyder PI report broke, it was Irsay who became the first NFL owner to vocally criticize Snyder, saying further he believed there was potentially 24 votes to remove Snyder as owner of the Commanders, but said, "We're not going to vote today." After Irsay's comments, NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell cautioned that no conclusions should be arrived at until the league completes its ongoing investigation into Snyder, and advised owners to keep their opinions to themselves. Despite the at times kooky owners' words being discouraged, they did not fall on deaf ears, sending shockwaves throughout the league, and privately, it seemed most owners sided with Irsay. It was all but confirmed that Dan Snyder no longer, if ever, had any allies among the league owners, and perhaps it was time to do damage control via a peaceful transfer of power at the helm of the Commanders franchise. But knowing Snyder, he had only begun to start digging his heels in. On November 2nd, 2022, Forbes published an article revealing Snyder had secured Bank of America to handle the financial process of divesting of the team, shocking many. The megabank has handled situations like this before, most recently processing the sale of the Los Angeles Clippers in 2014 under similar circumstances. The article also stated that the Snyder family had bought out the remaining minority stakeholders a year prior, giving the problematic owner now full control over accepting and denying bids to purchase his team, with Bank of America saying that they had already received calls from 4 separate parties looking to make an offer. Snyder bought the franchise in 1999 for $750 million, at a time when the team was topping the charts in attendance and revenue, but in fitting fashion, he quickly put an end to that. It wasn't long into his ownership that the team's mascot became one of the most divisive issues in sports. Despite poor on-the-field performance and front office scandals tanking his enterprise, Snyder was adamant that the team's mascot would never be changed. After finally relenting in early 2022, the newly renamed Commanders saw their annual revenue soar 40% year over year after sponsors and season ticket holders returned from their boycotts when race relations in the US had reached a boiling point in 2020. However, it is worth noting that the year-over-year increase was seen league-wide due to the absence of fans in NFL venues that year. I doubt Snyder was thinking about selling the team at the time, but despite swallowing his pride, the name change significantly benefited his business interests and was likely a prerequisite to selling the team. 1 month after the announcement, with the NFL season still in full swing and the Commanders having a surprisingly solid season, there weren't a whole lot of developments. It was rumored that Snyder was seeking $6 to $7 billion for the franchise in a highly sought-after media market, but that amount sat far and beyond what the Broncos had sold for earlier that year, when an ownership group led by the eldest Walmart heir, Rob Walton, paid a record $4.6 billion for the team. In Snyder's defense, the DMV-based Commanders are worth considerably more than the Denver Broncos simply going off media market size, and the new owners would likely be placing a combined bid for both the franchise and the Dan Snyder-owned FedEx Field. It was around this time that NFL reporter Albert Breer proposed a theory that Snyder announced the sale to calm tensions among fellow owners and the media, only to ask a price so impractically high that no one would pay it, and by the beginning of the next season, he would withdraw the sale citing his price wasn't met. If diversion was really his goal, it certainly worked. By January 2023, despite investigations looming and potential criminal charges on the way, the media was much more captivated by the individuals who had come forward and hadn't come forward to place a bid for the team, and NFL owners had largely removed Snyder as a topic from their meetings. On the day the partnership with B of A was announced, Amazon founder and Washington Post owner Jeff Bezos was immediately named the frontrunner to buy the Commanders, with media speculating that the franchise was his for the taking before Bezos even had the chance to comment publicly. Media outlet TMZ later issued a report that the billionaire was considering bidding with rapper Jay-Z, but there was never more news about a potential partnership after that. At the end of November, Bezos did a sit-down interview with CNN's Chloe Mellis, announcing a donation to Dolly Parton's charity, but Mellis did ask about the Commanders sale, to which Bezos replied, "There's not much I can say about that right now, but she does like football," referring to his partner, Lauren Sanchez. To date, this was the only public comment Bezos made about the sale. Without solid confirmation of interest from Bezos, the media quickly began to suggest others who may place a bid, starting with 61-year-old Byron Allen, who placed an unsuccessful bid on the Denver Broncos. Allen was born in Detroit but grew up in Los Angeles, graduating from USC before starting his early career as a comedian. Today, he owns a portfolio of cable networks, including the Weather Channel, and many have speculated that Allen lacks not only the liquid cash to purchase the franchise, but also doesn't have a high enough net worth, which hovers just under $1 billion. Allen stated to TMZ that Roger Goodell and Patriots owner Robert Kraft encouraged him to place a bid on the Denver Broncos and believed his ownership would be a, quote, good thing for the league and the country, as Allen would be the first black NFL owner. Allen would likely have been in the mix if Snyder was only looking to sell a stake in the team, but reports in early 2023 indicated Snyder was only considering bids to buy the team outright. It's important to note that per league rules and general business practices, a single buyer must be able to put minimum 30% down for the franchise and be the controlling owner. They can't go into debt for more than $1 billion, but can split the remaining 70% among partial owners. In terms of the league side of the process, any potential outright or minority stake sale would have to be submitted to the NFL Finance Committee for review, which takes place in the weeks leading up to a league meeting, where 24 of 32 NFL owners have to approve the transaction. Another potential bidder tossed out at the onset was 58-year-old Josh Harris. Harris was born and raised in Chevy Chase, Maryland, and went to school in D.C. He graduated from Penn and did his MBA at Harvard before co-founding Apollo Global Management in 1990, an asset management firm. In 2011, he and David Blitzer placed a successful bid on the Philadelphia 76ers of $280 million. 2 years later, they also bought the New Jersey Devils and their arena for $320 million. By 2017, they had purchased several more minor league franchises and consolidated their enterprise into Harris Blitzer Sports and Entertainment. Their only foray into the NFL was in 2020, when the group bought a 5% stake in the Pittsburgh Steelers. In 2022, Harris left Apollo to focus on his own business ventures, founding another asset management firm and dedicating more of his time to his sports teams. That fall, he and Blitzer placed a very competitive bid for the Denver Broncos when the Bolin family put them up for sale. The group led by Rob Walton placed an equally competitive bid and vowed that they would top anyone who tried to outbid them. Rather than start a bidding war, Harris backed down, content with going after the next franchise that would come up for sale. Fast forward to December 2022, when an early round of non-binding bids for the Commanders were being accepted by B of A. A non-binding bid allows any investor groups to learn a little about the franchise without full financial statements. Investors then make bids and declare their ownership group, and Snyder can use this information to narrow down finalists to submit formal bids. Being a private process, we are solely at the mercy of leaks and informants. With no confirmation of who actually bid during this time, it was suggested that no one submitted a dollar amount that matched the $7 billion that Snyder wanted. It was revealed, however, that Jeff Bezos sat out, and whether he was still intending to submit a bid for the team remained unclear. In February 2023, Bezos hired Allen & Company, one of the top investment banking firms in sports, to further explore a bid, which to this point had been his only decisive move. However, Dan Snyder, a man who likes to overpower others, may not be someone Bezos wants to do business with, and I'm sure Snyder wouldn't hesitate to play mind games with the richest person in the world simply to make himself feel good, especially since Bezos was the owner of the Washington Post at the time when disparaging articles were written and published about Snyder in the newspaper. A report in March 2023 dismissed Bezos' affiliation with the Post as an issue, stating that Snyder did not hold a grudge against him and welcomed Bezos to place a bid. But still, even if Bezos didn't want to purchase an NFL team, he's likely the frontrunner for any franchise, not just the Commanders. Some speculate that he may be waiting for the Seahawks to become available if the trust of the late Paul Allen decides to list them in the near future. Meanwhile, in the months since the December bidding, little developments occurred until March, when two more individuals came forward with intentions to purchase the team. Early that month, 67-year-old Mitchell Rales announced he wanted to join Josh Harris's bid. Rales was born in Pittsburgh but grew up in Bethesda, Maryland, graduating from Miami University in Ohio in 1974. He founded the medical device company Danaher Corporation with his brother in 1983 and has been president of the National Gallery of Art in D.C. since 2019. He also established Glenstone, an art museum in Potomac, Maryland. His net worth is estimated to be around $5.6 billion. The second individual to vocalize his intentions in March was relatively unknown in the US. Steve Apostolopolous, a Canadian businessman and member of one of Canada's richest families, is the managing partner of Triple Group of Companies, the Toronto-based property management firm his father founded. He also founded Six Ventures Inc., his own venture capital firm, and co-founded a business credit card startup. He announced his bid after touring the team's facilities, and while his net worth is unknown, he states he has the cash to purchase the team after inheriting $3.9 billion after his father's death in 2021. Both Apostolopolous and the Harris Blitzer Group, including Rales and now Magic Johnson, submitted offers of $6 billion in the last week of March, meeting Snyder's now lowered price, and north of the team's valuation of $5.6 billion. While all our focus is turned to them, there is potentially a mystery bidder. John Keim of ESPN reported that in addition to Apostolopolous and Harris, there is a third anonymous group that has toured the team's facilities, and it's unclear whether they have made an offer or not. Could it have been henchmen for Jeff Bezos? Maybe, but probably not. Tilman Fertita, owner of the NBA's Houston Rockets, also is interested in purchasing the Commanders, according to reports. He said during an interview with CNBC in April that he bid $5.6 billion on the Commanders, but had to draw a line in the sand in regards to price. Also revealed in April, DC local Brian Davis, who played college basketball at Duke University and is the founder of an energy company, claims to have placed a $7 billion bid on March 21st. Davis said he could transfer the first $1 billion within 24 hours and would be able to send the next $6 billion within a week. He also stated that he would indemnify Snyder and would take responsibility for all financial penalties dealt to the team as a result of the investigations. So far, no one is corroborating his story, and Davis and his business partner, fellow Duke star Christian Laettner, have been subject to several lawsuits over the past 2 decades over failure to pay back loans as little as $200,000. Also, no one could verify the existence of his energy company or any of the accolades Davis claims it's received, so we can probably rule the Davis bid out. Many projected a sale would be completed by the league meeting in March, so the finance committee could review the transaction and owners could vote on it, but obviously that didn't happen. Despite the amount of money and legal proceedings involved, sales of franchises are typically pretty quick. The Broncos announced they were on the market in February 2022 with a bidder selected in June and sale finalized in August. That's only about 4 months from listing to picking a winning bid. The Carolina Panthers, which went on the market for somewhat similar reasons in December 2017, found a buyer in David Tepper in May 2018, selling for $2.3 billion, a record at that time. Contrast that to the Commanders sale, currently sitting in month 6 as of making this video. It seems that given the bid submitted in March, a 6-month timeline from listing to picking a winner is very realistic. There is one key difference though from the other scenarios, and that we're talking about Dan Snyder. One of the biggest reasons perhaps why Jeff Bezos was hesitant to place a bid on the Commanders was that he wasn't sure if they were really for sale. This could have all been one charade, as Albert Breer suggested, and we could have just been going through motions. But there were some reasons to suggest, however, that wasn't the case. Reports indicated Snyder was looking for his fellow owners to hold him harmless of any misconduct should criminal charges or financial penalties be sought. Otherwise, Snyder would have to set money aside in an escrow account or find some other way to indemnify a new ownership group if the team is fined or hit with any civil penalties after the sale. Regardless, Commissioner Goodell has stated that the independent investigation into a toxic workplace culture and now financial misconduct will be made public despite whether Snyder sells the team or not. In addition, signing bonuses for Commanders free agents have been withheld, signaling that Snyder would like the next owner to pick up the bill. And to top all of that off, rumors surfaced stating that Dan Snyder and his wife Tanya had cleared out of the team's facilities in December, although there was no elaboration of what cleared out meant. In a public filing in November 2022 related to the incorporation process with the Registrar of Companies for England and Wales, the Snyders listed England as the country or state of which they are usually a resident. And for anybody who tracks Snyder's jets and yacht, you know he spends a lot of time in Europe. There is speculation that after a possible sale of the team, Snyder could move to London and take part ownership of a soccer franchise. But knowing Snyder, I find the ownership part unlikely, but going overseas for a while would not be a bad idea. Snyder did announce in early 2023 he was listing his Potomac River estate where the controversial tree scandal took place, asking $49 million, what would be a record sale price in Maryland. However, this tidbit isn't too noteworthy, as the Snyders also have a house in Alexandria, Virginia. After the announcement of a sale in November, DC Mayor Muriel Bowser, among other public officials, softened their tone about public funds for a new stadium for the Commanders, the most significant development being that Roger Goodell told Bowser that the district had the full support of the NFL, who would provide all the lobbying resources the district needed to get the site of RFK Stadium under the district's control from the federal government. Fans interviewed by local media were overjoyed after the announcement that Snyder had selected a bidder, with many saying that they had stopped going to games simply because they knew he was reaping the benefit of it. Developments on the sale have been popping up every day for the last several months, making it seemingly impossible to make a comprehensive video on the topic out of fear of leaving out tomorrow's big news. As of making this video, some speculate that Snyder is still waiting for someone to come forward with a $7 billion bid before picking a winner, feeding Albert Breer's theory that the sale is really just a temporary distraction. Meanwhile, other reports suggest that Jeff Bezos has no interest anymore in placing a bid, but he has yet to publicly clarify his position and motives. The most recent news suggests that the Josh Harris, Mitchell Rales, and Magic Johnson bid has been chosen as the winner, but both Apostolopolous and 2 more anonymous bidders who toured the team's facilities claim to still be in play, in addition to Brian Davis. At this moment in time, the Harris bid was sent to NFL officials for a casual review to confirm there were no outstanding issues. Reports suggest that the only items left to address relate to indemnification of Snyder and how legal and financial repercussions will be dealt with. But otherwise, the bid is ready for an all-owner vote. We won't really be 100% sure that the Harris Group is the winner until the league votes on the matter, which may not take place until August once all the background checks and funds transfers are complete. At that point, Dan Snyder will no longer be the official owner of the Washinton Commanders. I am actually kind of surprised how all of this turned out. I really did not expect Dan Snyder to give up so easily, and given how soft the NFL is to their owners versus the NBA, I really thought he could ride this out. Insiders say that while the investigations and potential consequences loomed on his mind, it was really feedback from fellow owners after Jim Irsay's comments in October and the lack of any government entity being willing to help fund a new stadium that really left him with no choice but to sell. I still don't think he would have been voted out, but it seemed that by this time next year, we would have had an official answer to that question. I'm not old enough to recall what the team was like before Dan Snyder bought them, but I hope current and future fans are happy with who the team becomes under new ownership. It won't be like the glory days, but at the very least, they'll be somebody that you can be proud of and enjoy rooting for. Once again, assuming everything goes as we've lined out. For now, we're just going to have to wait and see what the next significant development is in the Dan Snyder saga. Will the drama continue? Or will the scandalous thriller of Dan Snyder's ownership come to a peaceful end? We here at Labrise TV will be watching closely.